is from England. That's why he's coming home.
That's a much shorter video than this one. This football tournament and England's advance to the final is causing a diverse range of feelings. Some hysteria, some joy, some mania and ecstasy. But if you're feeling a bit weird, strange, baffled, confused, even a latent sense of peculiar disappointment, then watch this video. And if you're outside of English culture or football culture, watch it to understand what is at this moment a peculiar phenomenon, to understand what it means and how the energy that's been unbolted by this peculiar, unique and wonderful event could influence politics more broadly. I love to see the chaos, the mayhem, the melee, the disorder, people coming together in a celebratory situation rather than one of clear, pure adversity and disdain, coming together in a spirit of joy. That's amazing. Never found it easy myself. I always sort of find myself lost in the attic of my own mind, unable to immerse myself fully in all that kind of emotion, particularly in a crowd, unless I suppose in a crowd when actually at football, at Upton Park as was then, lost in the purity of football. This dude though, he has gone too far.
You know what? It's better than childbirth. It's here. And you know, my daughter was born in 2012, and you know what? It's a better feeling.
That's amazing. It's better than childbirth in the abstract, possibly. My daughter was born in 2012. Hold on, you're focusing down on the personal. And this is better than that. What, than your actual childbirth? Yeah, it's a better feeling. I felt a bit weird that day thinking about it when I become a father. It's complex. I felt about the obligations, the duties that I would now have. Made me realise that there are doubts in my relationship, that nothing's ever perfect and that I will inevitably fail as a father. I love that. Young man energy. This is the stuff that can go over the edge.
How's the game?
Do you know what? We really fully enjoyed it. It's amazing. England is coming home.
Yeah, it's coming home.
It's massively coming home.
Now this guy is the literal antithesis to everything I'm doing. You could accuse me, I have been accused of it before, of being over-analytical. Russ, can't you just get on with life? Can't you just enjoy the simple things? Do you have to think the whole time? Do you have to over-analyse things? Well, yeah, but not everyone does. Check this dude.
Football is from England. That's why he's coming home.
That's a much shorter video than this one. I read a thing that said that It's Coming Home phraseology come from Saatchi & Saatchi, an advertising agency that were involved in the sort of construction of that song, even though, of course, I know actually David Baddiel very well and Frank Skinner a bit, and I know that they wrote that song and it's bloody brilliant and fantastic, but apparently the idea of it's coming home, that's almost like take your country back. It's a powerful little bit of language. It's coming home. Football's coming home. What is home? What is home? The place where you feel safe, the place you're entitled to be, the place that belongs to you. It's an amazing and powerful piece of language and is distinct from the song, which is continually analysed, and as the creators of the song continually reiterate. No, and if you listen to the song, this is plain. It's about melancholy and loss and what it's like to be a football fan and how it breaks your heart the whole bloody time and you think you're going to get it and then you don't get it in the end. But the words, it's coming home, you can see why that would be provocative to other nationalities unless the whole sport is taken in the spirit that it's intended. Like this is just a joyful distraction. It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of a laugh after a difficult time. Some people probably do see it like that. But why does football and has football culture historically so often led to violence? You know, you're probably familiar with a football wars. There's a brilliant little video on it from the people at History Oversimplified, link in the description. You know, football contains violence. It contains violence, opposition, conflict, competition. These are powerful forces to start messing around with. Like, I suppose this conflation of the individual narrative, my own experiences of football in the past, and the grand narrative, the story of England, the story of football, the story of a nation, the story of a nation against other nations, competing, yes, through war, because think around the kind of rhetoric that you continually hear around Germany and Argentina, some of England's most notorious football foes, but of course, famously military opponents also, is that suddenly your own interests are allied to that of a country. Now, however sophisticated you are, there's another brain inside your brain. There's another set of principles and instincts at work in you. Like, don't matter how progressive, how self-regulatory and enlightened you might be, you got hormones, you got desires, you got appetites in you that if you don't have a practice and a program, these powerful forces could go awry. And if a culture starts meddling with them, like it does through propaganda, that's the function of propaganda, whether it's telling you to do something or not to do something. It uses propagandist means that are necessarily reductive, simplifies truth, amplifies other elements of a particular narrative in order to control your behaviour. Man, who can you trust? What can you trust? It's coming home. 3 simple words, a lot of ideas bagged up in there.
It's coming on!
This is where a person like me gets excited. I love football. As I said to you, have a complicated relationship with the sport of football, have a complicated relationship with patriotism, like you would have a complicated relationship with anything that's been in your life for as long as you can remember. When you see crowds clambering on buses and phone boxes, you are forced to acknowledge and recognise that the spirit, the energy of chaos, and from chaos comes change, from chaos can come evolution. We're taught that chaos means only danger. Chaos does mean danger, but not only danger. Change, power, reorganisation of society can come from chaos. Historically, festivals are designed as a kind of social valve. The whole little notion of bread and circuses, as long as people have got food in their belly and the occasional circus, they won't try to overthrow the existing order. And a carnival is a temporary re-evaluation of order. The ordinary rules are suspended, and even though the police are present during these scenes of disruption, they're not yet acting. But the status quo is being challenged, and it's a timely and beautiful reminder that at any point, if people en masse rise up, a small number of people cannot control a large number of people unless that large number of people consent to be controlled. How do you manage that then? Well, you have to make sure that that large group of people are constantly bickering among themselves about economics and about minor cultural differences. Does this sound familiar? Is anyone getting this yet? Make sure that those people are focused on, well, you're like this and you're like that. Minor religious, cultural identity differences, keeping people in the lower middle and working classes utterly distracted. Football, in its incredible ability to bring people together for one cathartic, seismic moment, shows us the dormant, latent power that could be unleashed at any time. Yes, by anodyne sport, by which I mean it's framed, it's contained, other than the crowd's reaction. It takes place within a set of rules and regulations. You don't organise society. You know, have you noticed how many people are saying, Gareth Southgate, he's exactly the kind of leader that we should have, reasonable, progressive, compassionate, sympathetic. Damn right, that's the kind of leader that we should have. Not literally Gareth Southgate, though. You don't literally want the England team to be in charge of the economy. Raheem Sterling may be a treasure, but ought he be in charge of the treasury? That's a different question. But the fact that there's this much energy bound up in this cultural moment always give people that are radical and revolutionary a little bit of a priapic prang, because it's a reminder that order can be altered by exactly this kind of power. When the tournament plays out, when it runs out, whether Italy win or whether England win, we'll still have this sort of shared memory of festival, of carnival, of disruption. The idea that people can come together temporarily, clambering atop of buses. Now, disorder and chaos is not a replacement for order, it's a potential means towards a new order, a different way of living. This is what is exciting. At a time like this, when that demographic has been demonized, and that there is this kind of sense of polarity and this kind of oppositionism, it's interesting to see how the sport of football is appropriated, owned, and how its home is determined by different cultural groups and different cultural interests. But I would say what interests me most of all is the possibility that it could be seen as a unifying force. I mean, they are taking the wing mirrors off of buses now. We are moving into public disturbance territory. That is like the revelry is moving into Malay. I wonder how much of this behaviour becomes like imitative, like it isn't authentically felt, but becomes a kind of groupthink sensation. You know, when like you feel like, the machinery of propaganda is being unleashed at you, when political figures are using the stories around football and sport and the feel-good factor to advance their own narratives. But these things do cross over. They aren't distinct and separate. Like, even if you're the most progressive, liberal, you know, sort of, you're deep into all of the analyticalisms. Like, if you want to play the game of football's coming home, well, look at what you're playing with really. England, competition, maleness. There's a lot of ideas in there. It's very difficult to go near that cauldron and not be affected by it. Again, on a sort of a secular, everyday, parochial level, man, I love this football team. I love them lads. They're so beautiful, ordinary working class lads, achieving high, achieving as a team. Gareth Southgate, what a beautiful progressive leader. But what are the ideas, what are the energies that are being unbolted, that are being brought up, that are being unleashed? In the end, a reminder that festival and chaos takes place behind a line. In this case, a high-vis police line. You're allowed a little bit of revelry, a little bit of mayhem, but if you start getting too destructive, then the boundaries will once again be imposed. This is true of every second of your life, and a spike of revelry merely allows us to observe, there is continually a membrane around your behaviour. I'll always be fascinated by which particular songs make it to the terraces, which ones become beloved. Who would have thought Atomic Kitten's You Can Make Me Whole Again? Although I suppose the sentiment is pretty archetypal and powerful. And there it is, geezers singing You Can Make Me Whole Again by Atomic Kitten without any self-consciousness. Ultimately, when it comes to it, you have more in common with one another than the set of principles and institutions that seek to continually divide you. That is what fascinates me about this carnival. That's what fascinates me about this on a cultural level. On an individual level, like at you, just the same. Oh my God, I can remember being around Johnny Benson's house in 1990, watching that penalty shootout. I can remember Euro 96, working in a pub in Kentish Town, watching that penalty shootout. I can remember 98, the disappointments, 2002, the disappointments. Via this time, my little life, I'm becoming a smackhead. All these little crazy things are happening, and the observer of these tournaments, of this game, of this set of principles is there as a constant parallel companion. This, I think, is true to any of us that have invested our lives to any degree in the game of football, that have loved it, let alone for people that are sort of at the forefront at it, the pinnacle, the team themselves, or the sort of cultural ephemera that gathers around it, Baddiel and Skinner and their anthem that sort of continually accompanies these occasions. Even now, Neil Diamond's been pulled into the mix, and Atomic Kitten is a sort of extraordinary snowballing event. And with anything that has its own momentum, it has the potential to take you wherever it wants to take you. And as individuals in an atomized society, we feel, God, where is this taking us? That's why I feel sometimes a little bit strange, a little bit empty, a bit at a loss. Wow, this thing's so much bigger than me, so much bigger than any of us, much bigger than my personal interpretation, much bigger than any of the narratives that can be imposed upon it. How can the simple acceptance of a set of rules, a game, some principles, engender, evoke, provoke such a strong reaction? It's a really powerful thing. The reason that it's creating so many beautiful moments, so many beautiful memes, is because it's reaching into all of us as individuals, and it's enshrining us all as a culture and as a country. If you're outside this country and you're trying to understand it, this video, I think, will help you to understand it a little better, or maybe help you to understand it a little less, because you might realize just how complicated it is. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment below. We read the comments. Subscribe to my channel, and have a look at Awakening, my side channel, where I talk about the kind of spiritual ideas that you're going to need if you're going to cope with being inundated with this level of information. Sign up to my mailing list so I can let you know about the live shows I'm doing in the UK. Check out my show, Our Little Lives, Shakespeare and Me, a live show where I talk about Englishness, language, the power of language, using the words of William Shakespeare, and stand-up comedy, my new special. You'll enjoy it. Also, yeah, Jesus Christ, I mean, just try not to think too much. It's a challenge that I've had over the course of my life, and I don't think it's getting any easier.